Welcome to Andrew G Presents. I'm Andrew and today I'm catching up with Ang Cuy. Ang is the president of the Musical Theatre Guild of Victoria. She's a life member and committee member of Williamstown Musical Theatre Company. She's been an assistant director, a director and a hair and makeup designer, and she's an advocate for volunteering. Welcome, Ang. Why is volunteering important?
Oh, look, volunteering is important for so many reasons, but I really tend to look at volunteering from a two-pronged approach. What does the volunteer get out of it? And what does the community get out of it that the person's volunteering with? So I think that traditionally people assume that volunteering is completely altruistic and that people do it absolutely out of the kindness of their heart and, you know, there's nothing in it for them and it's purely for the good of the community. And there is definitely good for the community in it, but there's also huge benefits for the person that's volunteering as well. The amazing outcomes for volunteers is they get social connection, they get a sense of achievement, they have a sense of purpose. There's skill development that happens through volunteering. You know, it's a great resume builder. You know, the impact that it has on some communities that are often either disconnected or marginalised is enormous. You know, so on one side, you've got this great impact on the individual. The person who's volunteering gets huge benefit from it. And then the impact that the volunteer has on the community. There's so many things that would never get done without volunteers. You know, you only need to look at our theatre community for one. I don't think people often stop and really think about the fact that particularly the amateur and community theatre community in Melbourne and throughout Victoria is completely operated by volunteers. You know, we think about not only our committees, but our crews, our production teams, our behind the scenes people, you know, our front of house people, all the parents that work with the junior companies, all that kind of stuff. It's all volunteer driven. It's all people giving their time.
Who's the theatre company's customer? Is it the volunteers or is it the ticket paying audience?
I think it's both. I don't think you can have one without the other. Obviously there's, you know, customers pay for a ticket, but what the volunteers do in a theatre company, if you were to put a dollar value on that, it far outstrips what the customer ticket value price is, right? If you look at the latest ABS statistics on volunteering, the value of a volunteer hour in dollar terms, and it's not the best way to measure it, but in dollar terms is about $42 to $43 an hour. Whilst they might not traditionally be customers as such, we've got to think about what we're doing to not only recruit the right people, but retain them and treat them really well. We need to treat them as well as we treat our paying patrons, because we need both in order for our theatre companies to survive. We can't do theatre without our audience, but we also can't do theatre without our volunteers.
How did you get into community theatre, Ang?
So I did a lot of student theatre, and then when I finished uni, I was looking for a way to continue that, you know, interest that I had. So I did a lot of straight theatre for a long time. I know I'm not meant to admit that as the president of the Music Theatre Guild, but yeah, I spent a lot of time in straight theatre. At the same time that I was singing in a lot of pub bands. And then at some point someone went, hey, you know, you can do both of those things at once, right? I went, oh, musical theatre, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, so I basically in community theatre, I think my first foray into community theatre was helping with some script writing for a panto that someone had asked for a bit of assistance on. And there had been someone drop out of the cast at the last minute and they needed a bit of a replacement. So I found myself in the cast of a panto about 180 years ago and I haven't looked back since.
What would you say to someone that's thinking about getting into community theatre today, watching this right now?
I would say give it a go, like absolutely give it a go. I get asked this question a lot because people know of my different, you know, hats that I wear in theatre, and I get asked a lot, should I do it? Should I, you know, I think the audition process is the scariest thing for people, you know, because often to even get your foot in the door, you've got to get through that audition. So I always say to people, just do it. What's the worst thing that could happen? You don't get it, you try again. But the best thing that could happen is you can find your tribe. And I think that that's what everyone's really looking for in life. You know, if you can find a group of like-minded people that are the same brand of weird that you are, you've got it made. Like what I was talking about earlier with volunteering, it's about connection to community. The way we do it is theatre. The method is the creation of a piece of theatre, but the reason that we're all there is because it's community. Because we're connecting to people who have the same passion that we do, or just enjoy the same kind of things that we do, or maybe share the same sense of humour that we might do, or whatever else it might be. There's something about the way we connect with each other that convinces us that giving up, 3 nights a week for months on end is a good idea. And it's because of the joy that we get out of the time we spend with each other and this amazing thing we create at the end of it. But the lifelong community that it creates for people is beautiful. And being able to come across someone who, regardless of whether you've done a show with them or not, is part of the theatre community, you're part of that same community. So for someone who's looking for creative outlet or looking for community connection, either or both, the theatre community is a really great way to get your foot in that door. I couldn't encourage it more for anyone. I know sometimes it's a bit scary because people go, oh, theatre, what if I don't know about, if I'm good enough to do that or if that's my thing or not. So just try it. Like what's the worst that could happen? And there's a gajillion things in theatre that can look like, whether it's a visually creative piece or a musically creative piece, or those incredible people in theatre who are just those project managers, who have those great logistical minds who make all of the things come together, or that person who's at the front of house who every single person that comes to your shows knows that person because they see them every single time, and they're the person that makes the community feel really welcome when they walk in the door. Like there's so many things that are just as valuable as the person who's standing on stage, if not more so, because they're the ones that keep the machine ticking over show after show, as opposed to some cast members who can come and go. I think it's the bigger machine that creates the community.
All of the theatres are shut down at the moment. All the Melbourne theatre companies have postponed shows for most, if not all, of 2020. What do you think's going to happen long term to community theatre?
Oh, look, I tend to be a really optimistic person. That's part of my makeup. I truly believe that when our theatres are ready to open, our audiences are going to be ready to come back. For so many of us, theatre is our community. It's our outlet. It's the thing that we do to balance out the other parts of our life that might not be as fun or as enjoyable. And more about, is everyone okay in the meantime? How are we staying connected with our people? How are we staying connected with our theatre community? Everyone, like we spoke about, from our performers through to our, our back of house people. We just need to take care of each other and keep those connections rolling. I know that, varying theatre companies are in different positions as well when it comes to, whether they're feeling secure or not secure from a financial perspective. And, I think that's something for us to be really considerate of as well. And, maybe something for us to have a broader conversation with around, how do we collectively have some of those conversations about how do we keep our theatre community at large rolling? Is there work that we can be doing collectively to advocate for community theatre so that it's not lost in the conversation?
But it's certainly a tough time.
It is. I think, we've seen some really beautiful things come out of this period of time. I think that people have found really creative ways to showcase what it is that we normally do. There have been productions that we've been able to watch online that people would never get access to normally. Those that can't travel to see shows would maybe never get to see. So, there's been some really, really exciting and really generous sharing of content and sharing of creative output, and also even just little mini projects that come together because people are looking for an outlet. One of the things that I've really seen happening is the Sunday night Zoom musicals that have been put together by the Mugwumps group, which has been a real highlight for me to see that people will find a way to make things happen, because that creative outlet is necessary. It's healthy. and necessary for people to still have a way to express themselves.
And thanks so much for having a chat with me today. Really appreciate it. Stay safe.
I will, you too.
Thank you, and hopefully I'll see you in a foyer sometime soon.
I've got my fingers crossed.